Right then, Blades Army, if you thought the last few days at Bramall Lane were intense, hold on to your seats, because what's just exploded regarding our club in the last few hours will leave every Blade absolutely gobsmacked. Three completely different situations are revolutionizing Sheffield United's backroom operations. At this very moment, Red and White Army, smash that like button now if you're proper Blades, because today we're diving deep into news that could define our next decade. One of these stories will break your heart, another will have you dreaming about January, and the third could be the first real sign that Chris Wilder has a genuine plan to drag us out of this absolute nightmare. When was the last time you felt the club was genuinely progressing? Because after what I'm about to reveal today, you'll understand we're living through a defining moment in Blades history. I'm not being dramatic when I say the next few weeks could determine whether we stay in the championship, return to the Premier League, or face a spiral none of us want to even contemplate. Drop your thoughts below. Are you prepared for changes that could decide whether we remain in the championship or face something far worse? Because the reality is this: never in our recent history have we been so close to the abyss. Yet never have we had so many golden opportunities knocking at our door simultaneously. Just look at these numbers I'm sharing today. We're talking about a club that merely months ago was contesting a playoff final against Sunderland, dreaming of the Premier League, and today sits bottom of the championship with 0 points from 6 matches. 0. Not a single victory, not one draw, not a solitary point earned this season. But here's what keeps me optimistic, and you'll understand why. Each of the 3 stories I'm revealing today shows there's a common thread, a plan being executed behind the scenes that could transform this crisis into the greatest comeback in our recent history. Chris Wilder didn't return to Bramall Lane to accept mediocrity. The man who took us from League One to the Premier League twice isn't here to oversee a drop to League One. The first story will sting because it's about numbers, statistics, the harsh reality of what we're facing right now. The second will have you dreaming because it involves a player who's already proved he can make the difference here at Bramall Lane. And the third represents pure hope, the first concrete evidence that we're building something new and solid for the future. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, because over the next 20 minutes, we're dissecting every detail, every implication, every possibility these stories represent. And by the end, you'll have a crystal clear vision of where the Blades are heading, up or down. There's no middle ground now. Let's begin with the story that'll make every Blade's stomach churn, because it's the most painful, yet also the most crucial for understanding where we stand. 6 defeats from 6 championship matches, 0 points, bottom of the table. Red and White Army, when I say our situation is desperate, I mean exactly that. We're the only team in the championship without a single point this season, and this hasn't happened for over 15 years in the club's history. The 1-0 home defeat to Charlton Athletic last weekend was rock bottom of a season. That started in the depths. At home, at our sacred Bramall Lane, we lost to a team that shouldn't be on our level. And look, I'm not exaggerating when I say this might have been our worst performance in years, possibly decades. Let's examine the brutal numbers nobody wants to see, but which are our reality. In 6 championship matches, we've scored just 1 goal. 1 goal, folks. We've conceded 13 goals, 13. The goal difference is -12. To give you an idea of this disaster, teams fighting relegation usually have at least some points at this stage of the season. We have 0 to understand the gravity of our situation. Chris Wilder returned to save us. But even the comeback of the manager, who took us to the Premier League twice, couldn't immediately reverse this disaster. The man who knows every brick of Bramall Lane is watching his own team fail to secure even a merciful draw. And this worries me more than any statistic, because if Wilder can't get an immediate reaction, it means the problem runs deeper than we imagined. But here's the detail nobody's discussing that might explain everything. The squad is bloated. According to Wilder himself, this is a devastating statement when analyzed carefully. He's saying we have too many players, but not the right type of players. Quality without direction, talent without cohesion. A group that on paper should be challenging for the playoffs, but in practice can't beat Charlton at home. Let's detail this catastrophe match by match, because each defeat tells a different story of the same problem. In our opener, we lost 4-1 to Bristol City at home, 4-1 at Bramall Lane to Bristol City, who aren't exactly the Real Madrid of the championship. Second match, 1-0 defeat to Swansea away. Third match, 1-0 to Millwall at home again. Fourth match, 1-0 to Middlesbrough away. The fifth match was total humiliation, 5-0 to Ipswich Town. 5-0. 6 matches, 6 defeats. This isn't bad luck. It's a systematic crisis that could send us straight to League One if we don't react now. The timing couldn't be more cruel. We should be fighting for promotion after that playoff final against Sunderland, but we're literally battling to avoid falling further. That final was just months ago, and it feels like it happened in another decade. We lost 2-0 to Sunderland at Wembley, but even then we left that match thinking we were on the right track. That 2025-26 would be our season of redemption. What happened between May and August? How did a team that reached the championship playoffs transform into the championship's worst team? In a matter of months? The answer lies behind the scenes, in decisions made during summer, in Chris Wilder's turbulent departure after the final, in the disastrous appointment of Ruben Sells, who lasted just 5 matches before being sacked. Sells arrived with high expectations after his work at Hull City, but the reality is he never understood what it means to be Sheffield United manager. 5 matches, 5 defeats, and a dismissal that cost the club more money at a time when every penny counts. The Spaniard brought his own backroom team, sideline players who knew the club, changed methods that worked, and the result is there for everyone to see. What concerns me most isn't even the results themselves, but what they reveal about the squad's mental state. When a team loses 6 consecutive matches without scoring more than 1 goal per game, when they suffer thrashings at home, when they can't react even with the return of their most beloved recent manager, it means there's a deep confidence crisis that goes beyond tactics and formations. What do you think is going wrong? Because this isn't the Sheffield United we know. These aren't the Blades who fought in the Premier League. This isn't the team that moved us in the playoffs. Something fundamental has changed, and we need to understand what before it's too late. But the situation doesn't stop there, and here comes something that could be our light at the end of the tunnel. A golden opportunity that could transform our defense and our confidence. Harry Souttar is back on the Blades' radar for January. The Australian centre-back, who won our hearts last season, could be returning to Bramall Lane in a move that makes complete strategic, financial and emotional sense for all parties involved. Do you remember the impact Souttar had before his Achilles injury last December? 21 matches, 20 as a starter, and a defensive presence that gave us security we haven't seen for months. The Australian giant, 26 years old and 1.98 meters tall, wasn't just another lone center back. He became a leader, an organizer, the type of player who makes others around him perform better. The statistics from Souttar's period with us speak for themselves. 1 point to tackles per match average, 87% passing accuracy, 6.3 interceptions per game. Numbers of a modern center back who knows how to play with the ball at his feet, but doesn't compromise the defensive solidity that's always been a Blades trademark. More importantly, in 21 matches with him on the pitch, our defense conceded 0.9 goals per game. Without him, this average rose to 1.7 goals conceded per match. And here's the interesting part that could facilitate negotiations. Marty Cifuentes, Leicester City manager, has just confirmed that Souttar is returning to the team after almost 10 months out through injury, and that he's pleased to have more defensive options. But, and this is a massive but, Souttar still needs to get past names like Wout Faes, Jannik Vestergaard, and Caleb Okokie in the Fox's hierarchy. Let's be realistic about his situation at Leicester. In 2.5 years under contract, he's made just 15 league appearances, 15 matches in 30 months. For a 26-year-old center back who should be at his career peak, this lack of continuity is devastating. For us, he was fundamental in a season that took us to the playoffs. The math is simple. Where is he more valued? Where does he have more chance to develop? Where can he genuinely make a difference? The transfer from Stoke City to the Foxes in January 2023 cost around £15 million, but simply didn't work out. Injuries, competition, different tactical systems, everything conspired against Souttar at Leicester. But at Sheffield United, even in just half a season, he showed exactly what he can offer when he has confidence and continuity. Souttar has previously admitted, in interviews after the loan ended, that he enjoyed his time at Bramall Lane, that he felt valued here, that he considers Blades supporters special. These aren't protocol statements, they're words from someone who genuinely connected with the club and the city. Doesn't this open doors for a winner deal? The timing couldn't be more suitable for all parties. He needs regular minutes. To regain match rhythm lost during injury, we desperately need defensive quality. and January is approaching, Leicester will probably be willing to negotiate, whether loan or sale, because they need to reduce the wage bill and give opportunities to players who are genuinely part of Cifuentes' plans. From our side, Chris Wilder knows Souttar's qualities perfectly, knows how to use him tactically, understands what type of leadership he can offer in a crisis moment like this. Wilder isn't a manager who gambles on unknowns when the club is in a delicate situation. He prefers tested, approved players who've already proved they can wear the Blades shirt with pride. And let's talk about the financial aspect, which is always crucial to our reality. A January loan would be ideal to test whether Souttar has returned to his best level after injury. If he performs as we expect, we can negotiate a permanent transfer in summer for a more accessible fee, considering his Leicester contract runs until 2026 and he needs continuity. But here's an important reflection. Souttar doesn't solve all our problems. He can organize the defense, give us more security in build-up play, bring leadership and international experience. But if we continue scoring just one goal in 6 matches, not even the world's best center back will save us from relegation. What he can do is give us a solid foundation to build confidence. When a team is in crisis like we are, sometimes just 1 or 2 secure defensive performances are enough for the whole team to start believing again. And if there's anyone capable of bringing that security back to Bramall Lane, that someone is Harry Souttar. How would you react if we brought Harry back? Do you think he alone can make the difference, or do we need deeper changes to the squad? Now, for something that'll put a smile on your faces. The first concrete evidence that Chris Wilder has a real plan to get us out of this situation. Chris Wilder has just made his first masterstroke. Appointing Guilherme Ramos as new first-team coach marks the beginning of a new tactical era. At Sheffield United, this isn't a desperate or improvised appointment. It's a strategic decision that reveals much about how Wilder intends to revolutionize our style of play. You might not know the name, but pay attention to this impressive CV. 40-year-old Portuguese coach, international curriculum built over more than a decade working in different countries and footballing cultures. Portugal, Poland, Iceland as a player, then Cyprus, Bulgaria, United States, and France as a coach. Most important for our reality, he's already worked in the Championship as Nottingham Forest assistant manager in 2020-21, so he knows exactly the level of play, intensity, and particularities we face. Wilder himself explained the choice revealingly. Guilherme is someone I've known for some time and adds something different that will complement the talents of Alan Neil, Matt Prestridge, and Mickey Collins. This is the language of a manager with a specific plan, who knows exactly what type of change he needs to implement to get us out of this situation. Ramos joins Wilder's historical collaborators, Alan Neil and Matt Prestridge, who were with him in his 2 previous Bramall Lane spells, plus having worked together at Northampton Town, Middlesbrough, and Watford. It's the perfect combination, proven experience with Wilder, deep knowledge of the club and players, plus fresh international vision that can bring new methods and approaches. Mickey Collins also returns to a more prominent position. He was part of the backroom team during Wilder's last successful Sheffield United spell. Having been promoted from the under-21s, Collins wasn't included in Sel's setup, who brought his own team and completely ignored the club's internal knowledge. Now he returns to direct involvement in first-team training. But here's the most brilliant and strategic detail of this appointment. Wilder said this shows there's a clear pathway from the academy to the first team for club coaches. This isn't just rhetoric, it's a working philosophy that thinks long-term, that builds sustainable identity for the Blades beyond any specific manager. This appointment reveals that Wilder has learned from past mistakes. When he left the first time, after the second, there was always total rupture with methods and people that worked. Now he's building a structure that can survive future changes, that maintains continuity even if he leaves again someday. Guilherme Ramos brings knowledge of modern training methodologies, performance analysis, physical preparation integrated with tactical work. At 40, he represents a generation of coaches who grew up with football's technological revolution, who understands data, video analysis, training loads far more sophisticatedly than previous generations. And let's be honest, we urgently need new ideas, new methods, new approaches. What we were doing clearly didn't work this season. 6 consecutive defeats don't happen by chance. They happen because there's something fundamentally wrong with preparation, fitness, tactical organization, group mentality. A progressive appointment that could be the first sign that 2025 will be our year of redemption, provided all other elements of the plan fit together correctly. Do you feel we finally have clear direction? That this appointment represents the beginning of something bigger? Blades Army, let's connect the dots of this story that could define our club's next few years. We're experiencing the most defining moment of recent years, a deep crisis that's placed us bottom of the championship with 0 points, but also the first weeks of Chris Wilder building something completely new and structured. Guilherme Ramos' appointment isn't just technical reinforcement. It's the first brick of a new foundation intended to be lasting and resistant to future changes. The possibility of Harry Souttar's January return fits perfectly into this strategy. Wilder wants proven quality, players who already know Bramall Lane, who've already bled for the Blades shirt. These aren't risky punts on unknown players. They're certainties at a moment where we can't afford a single wrong signing and look at the perfect timing, whilst other clubs talk about desperate solutions and free agents without quality. Wilder is thinking structure, thinking about January, thinking about medium and long-term future. This is champion manager mentality, not desperate manager trying anything to save his job. Red and White Army. In 6 months, we could be fighting for the playoffs again, or we could be in League One. The difference will be this: whether we trust the process being built now, whether we give time for pieces to fit together, whether we maintain faith in the darkest moments. The Blades have always been about grit, about never giving up, about Steel City pride. And if this week proved anything, it's that our club won't accept mediocrity. Wilder returned to win, not to manage a crisis. Subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell, because the next few weeks will be historic for the Blades. And next week, we'll analyze the first tactical changes Ramos might implement and how they could revolutionize our playing style. Up the Blades!